Monty and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh. With Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 Monty and Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and Pharaoh.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, and MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Oh.
What?
What? I was waiting for my other music that didn't pop up. Okay. Whatever.
Classic. What up, B?
All right. Well, anyway, welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaoh, seen only here at Village Connection Radio. Live from Rockstar Studios, Huntington, New York.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Getting ready for another huge weekend. I'm sorry, I got a little caught up. Anyway, at the helm is none other than producer extraordinaire, Stephen
Really?
Miller.
Are we gonna call these now? I literally think there's got to be one glitch every week, guys. You know that. It's my way. I'm sorry.
And to the right is the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, sir?
Hello out there in
And
TV
let's not
land.
forget about our special guest, WCW WWE songwriter and composer, Mr. JJ Maguire. JJ! Woo! Loving it. So, before we hit JJ, we're going to talk about we've got tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've got in the studio is Michael Elgin,
Okay.
Buff Bagwell,
All right.
Road Warrior Animal, and
man.
Hillbilly Jim.
Go messing with a country boy.
That's it.
Yeah.
And also in studio, JJ's hanging out with us all weekend long. So we got JJ as our special guest today. JJ will be in studio for all those interviews. And then we take it on the road to New York's largest pro wrestling event.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
The big event in
Yes, sir.
Queens, New York.
Yep.
Sponsored here by Village Connection Radio. And we will be selling JJ's book, My Life in Heaven Town. JJ, you want to tell the fans a little bit about this book?
Well, that's kind of my autobiography, my exploits in Hollywood and with wrestling and a little bit of everything in show business and a lot of icons other than wrestling. I think the book, I had it written and wanted it to appeal to people who absolutely know nothing about wrestling, but people that know everything about wrestling. So there's something for everyone in the book.
And also, the interesting deal here is Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
Not only a producer, he also is a writer.
Yes, he is.
And he wrote the book, Good Lovin', My Life as a Rascal, the Gene Cornish story. So we've got two really top authors.
No, you got one sitting on the couch. I'm a back, bro.
Yeah, no way. No way.
It's my story, but John Cosper actually wrote the book. And Jim Phillips did a little intro thing on there, too. So Jimmy Hart doing the forward as well.
Nice.
So speaking about Jimmy Hart, can you tell the fans out there, so anyone that may not know JJ Maguire, can we give a little bio about yourself?
Be glad to, Michael. Thank you for asking. Jimmy Hart and I were in the Gentrys together. I was playing in a road band from Kentucky, and we went to Tennessee, and the agent that booked us was also booking the Gentrys. And they were headlining. For instance, after I joined the Gentrys, we did a show in Miami, Florida, where that you'll love this one, that Chicago and Steppenwolf opened for us.
Wow.
They were just coming out.
Okay.
And but Jimmy and I got together that way. We played in the Gentrys together, and so that's how we wound up doing music for WWF, WWE, and WCW. Jimmy called me and said, they're going to do a wrestling album, Maguire. And I said, Now wait a minute, how's that? Are the guys going to ugh and arg and have a few slaps, you know? He said, oh, no. He said, the guys, Vince is going to take, and the company's going to take people that have talent and can sing and rap and dance and do some things, you know? So I said, well, sounds interesting, but I don't know how I'm going to tell you. You know, I'm a classically trained musician, and I don't know how the people are going to react to that. You know, a lot of people think that wrestling is low art, but I'm here to tell you from a lifetime experience that there's nothing low about wrestling in any fashion. And even people who are dubious about wrestling go, I don't watch that stuff. But you take that person to a wrestling match, and before that thing is over, those people are believers and love the entertainment value. At least in our time they did as well. And today too. But times have changed and times are different. But Jimmy Hart is one of the smartest people that's ever been in wrestling business. And Jimmy is the only wrestling manager that really was never a wrestler. Like Bobby Heenan was a wrestler, and as you guys know. And Jimmy and probably myself and Andy Kaufman are the only outsider people that were probably ever allowed into the core and the heart of the wrestling industry. Yeah, but that's how Jimmy and I got together. I played drums to start with the Gentrys. Jimmy didn't have any idea that I played all the instruments and that I wrote original material and whatever. And he wanted to we roomed together to save money and whatever. We could have had separate rooms. It was more brotherly to have a lot of laughs and, you know, tell jokes and stay in a room and, you know, 2 separate beds, of course. But Jimmy and I have had to, in certain instances, we had to sleep on the same bed. So we flip a coin to see who slept on top of the sheet on that side and who was under the sheet on this side. You know?
Wow.
But no, we're just regular guys and with a little music talent. And I always tell people, well, JJ, they say, did you do all this for your ego? And I always tell people and the fans, no, I didn't do it for my ego. I did it for the world's ego.
Yeah. Well, we were talking outside earlier, Steve. I don't know if you're aware, too. JJ wrote a lot of famous theme songs for the wrestlers. Can you name a few?
Oh, sure. Demolition, Sexy Boy. Sexy Boy, the most played entrance theme in the history of wrestling.
Wow.
Thus far. Honky Tonk Man. All the major icons of the late 80s and through the 90s.
So think about it. We were speaking so when wrestlers came out, you could make them or break them with that kind of entrance music, right? We were speaking about Demolition. I was in the military when Demolition first came out, and I was like, oh, what is this, another, what is this, a Road Warrior ripoff or whatever else? And when I got back stateside, I remember seeing that Demolition video and that song totally, got you into Demolition. You were ready to kick ass when you listened
Here come the action!
Did you realize what kind of impact you could have? At what point does the light bulb go off and go, wait a minute, this is taking an already great thing, whatever gimmick it was, and just shooting it into the stratosphere? When you have a theme that's that good, like Demolition, that just takes a 4-star movie and throw another star on.
Well, I was at Heroes and Legends just a few weeks back in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Demolition was there, and I took some pictures with them, but I couldn't get over there and talk to them. I had to be at my own table and meet and greet the fans. But Bill of Demolition, he said, Maguire, he said, we would have never been to the level of popularity without the theme that you and Jimmy wrote for us, Jimmy's words and your music and whatever. And I said, Bill, if you guys came out to a kazoo band, you still would have been one of the greatest of all time. He said, no. He said the music was the icing on our cake, and we owe you and Jimmy everything. And I was just blown. He kept telling the fans, this is the guy that wrote our music. This is the guy. I mean, he was putting me over like I was Hulk Hogan or somebody, and I was just extremely flattered by that. And to answer your question to start with, Michael and Jimmy, it dawned on me that this is pretty good stuff, or people enjoy this. But when I went to SummerSlam in '91 at Wembley in London, England, I was telling you guys earlier, and a few people outside here before we came into the show, that I was in the back and talked to everybody and watched on the monitor. And then I had full access, and I go out and watch the fans and some of the matches. Well, I went out into the very high part of the Wembley and on one side of it. And I sat down, and I just wanted to get the people's reaction to each theme. And the themes hit, and Jimmy, as a matter of fact, we had 96% of all WWF music at that time. And but I sat there, and on my left there were people that you could tell that they had saved every dime they could come up with for a long time, barely had shoes on their feet to come to this event. And sitting on the other side of me this close were two women in mink coats and diamonds on their hands. And I realized right then, this is something a lot bigger than I ever thought. You know, the scope of how it appeals to people. And I'm still pinching myself over it. I mean, it's just unbelievable that people, this many years later, when I flew in earlier today, I sat on 2 flights with people that happen to be avid wrestling fans, and one from the day and one that's more current, but they're familiar with what the music that we have done. And it's just, if I had $1 for every time that people have told me, your music is the fabric of my childhood and my youth, I'd be a multimillionaire. I mean, it just blows me away, and I'm so thankful that God gave me that talent, and Jimmy Hart, that we met on a whim, basically, and we've forged a lifetime friendship. And we like I said, we wrote this stuff. We didn't write it to show everybody how great we are and this is us. We wrote it for those characters, bigger than life, over the top, colorful, you know. And the music, we had to do everything from a country riff to a heavy metal riff to jazz to funk to pop. I mean, but luckily for me, I was classically trained, and I was able to do those things. I had played in bands since the mid-'60s, early 60s, and doing soul music before there was Cream or Hendrix or heavy music of any kind yet. And so I had a good live performance background, you know, and I was the arranger for our bands and all that. So, but it's just fortunate that I was able to meet the people that I did, but I took my talent to where it was. I didn't sit at home because I could play a lot of instruments and thought I was some big guy or something. I didn't sit there and fool myself and say, well, somebody's going to call me, and I was just sit here till somebody big call. No, I had to go out and show people, look, I'm not a big guy, but I have talent, and I'm willing to use it to help. And Vince and WWF was the vehicle for that. And I appreciate that, and all the people and fans like yourself that make those comments. It means everything in the world to myself and Jimmy Hart, believe me.
How easy was the adjustment, being that you came through the Gentrys, so obviously you were involved in the formulation of some pop music.
Yes, sir.
How easy was the adjustment when all of a sudden you find, now usually nobody sits down and goes, okay, I'm going to write a song, it's going to be exactly about this, and it usually formulates as it goes, usually.
Right.
Here, you're being asked to be a specialist.
That's correct.
Okay, here's the character. I want you to write for this specific character. How easy was the adjustment as a musician, as a composer, going from writing pop songs in the Gentrys to specializing with Vince?
Yeah, well, it's a specialty market, but you must remember that the Beatles were a specialty market when they came out.
I never thought of it that way.
That they were, and they were, when George Martin produced them, he was in charge of specialty BBC orchestra music. He was the specialty man, specialty.
Right.
And so Beatles were, I mean, let's face it, not anything like that since.
Right.
And they were one of a kind.
Sure.
But to answer your question, it was easy for me because I realized I would go and I would watch the character. I would look at the outfit. I would look at the gimmick. You know, what's their gimmick?
Find something.
What is it that the crowd really pops and really enjoys? And you know, they lift a leg up high and that's the gimmick. Okay, I need some kind of music that goes boop. You know, doink.
Yeah.
But and I watched a lot of Three Stooges as a kid,
There you
so
go.
that helped me too.
Dude, what is this whole Three Stooges thing?
Stop!
Man? I just don't get it.
What are you talking?
I never got it.
What are you talking
I don't
about?
get it.
I'm with Monty on
Thank you.
this.
Amen.
What is
oh my God.
No.
I'm sorry.
Silly you?
Yeah.
The silliest
Like,
thing going.
look,
What
I
are
get
you
Abbott and
talking about?
Costello.
Oh my
I get
God.
Abbott and Costello.
Love them. Love Abbott Costello.
Stooges are like what I call stupid humor, and I like stupid
slapstick.
humor. Yeah, it's
Slapstick, that's what it
hilarious.
is.
Anyway,
It wasn't that difficult. It's just that I had
Okay.
to take my ideas and formulate them. Like if the leg comes up, it makes a leg come up musical idiom. You know.
you ever get a wrestler where you struggle to write a song for them? Like you're sitting there looking at it going,
Yes.
I'm drawing blanks. What do I do here?
Yes, it all wasn't just a simple
Sure.
fraction. $1 Million Man thing.
Really?
We sat there, Jimmy and I sat there, and we lost weight, we lost sleep, we lost money.
Over the $1 Million Man theme song.
Yeah, for the $1 Million Man, we're losing time and money trying to come up with the theme.
Oh, wow.
But, and so Jimmy said, I don't know, he threw the pencil down, he's trying to sketch some words down, whatever. And so I said, well, Jimmy, you know what we're trying to do here? It boils down to it's all about the money. Oh, my God. He picked up the paper and went, it's all about the money. Everybody's got to pay. And he just immediately
Wow.
there
we go.
And so I said, well, here's kind of the musical idea I have for that. And it just, like everything that we did, it just magically kind of came together out of thin air. But there were some tough nuts to roll there to come up with that. So
Yeah, but you made careers, JJ. I mean, Honky Tonk Man, when he came to the WWE, and I say I know it was the WWF back then, but when he came to WWE, he was efficient. He was done. It was it was not working.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You made that well. Let's not forget, for the older fan, I think the first ever wrestling album was the Pile Driver album, right? It was called the Wrestling Album, right?
There was one album before that.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, and it was mostly covers and whatever. They did Land of 1,000 Dances, if you remember.
God,
Right.
Forget
Yeah.
that.
And then that's when they realized that, the company realized that we need to have something original here rather than just covering songs. I mean, there's a bunch of bands out here covering songs every night that you see at a bar or whatever. But that original music that Honky had, I don't remember who the artist was or whatever, but it was like an old hillbilly, state line, beer brawling. It didn't fit him exactly, And so, and Honky didn't like that music. He said, Maguire, you and Jimmy got to come up with something for me. He says, I hate that darn music. Hate it. And I says, well, but Honky, they love you. That's what. Yeah, but I got to have something solid. And so I told Jimmy, I said, well, look at him. He's doing kind of a semi-pseudo Elvis gimmick or whatever. He's not trying to be Elvis, or he's not an Elvis impersonator, but, kind of get the gimmick like that. I said, let's just do an old 50s type rock lift, and that's what it was. And then I got long sideburns and my hair slicked back.
Totally, when that song came out, the whole script flipped.
Yeah.
Right, everybody's all of a sudden doing the honky tonk, right? Everybody's doing that dance, and everybody's singing the song, right? Easy lyrics to figure out, right? For a dumbass like me, I learned it in like 10 seconds. I used to sing it around the military all the time.
But it also helped his obnoxious level as a heel.
Yeah.
Like he'd swivel them hips and stuff. People hated him. It helped push him into another stratosphere as a heel. One of the best.
He was a
ever.
lovable heel.
He was. He
Let's
was
face it.
great. He was great.
Greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
I say, yeah.
And also, I'd like to say that Roy Wayne is, away from the character and whatever, he is one of the nicest and most sincere and honest people in the wrestling business. And he didn't pay me to say that. And he's always been gracious to me. And as a matter of fact, all the great icons that became great icons, when we jumped in there, I mean, it was all being created, and they've all been extremely polite and kind to me, and Ted DiBiase, everybody, Andre, nice to me, Hulk, extra nice to me, everybody. I've met some of the nicest people that I've ever met in the wrestling business.
You told me earlier today you locked up a little bit with Hulk. Little.
Yeah, we
little
went
bit?
to England to promote the Wrestling Boot Band album. We first went to a place called the Conrad House, and they told Hulk they had, we've got every workout device known to mankind. Got over there, and it looked like something that somebody'd have in your basement at home, like a treadmill. With And Hulk looked at that.
on a treadmill.
Plastic weights.
Hulk looked at that, and he said, we're out of here. Brother, we're out of here. And Jimmy and I were standing there, and Jimmy said, Hulk, what's wrong? He said, they told me they had all the gear, the workout stuff that I need for my regimen. They hadn't got crap. He says, we're out. We're going over to the Grosvenor House, which is one of the top hotels in the world.
Okay.
Man, they had 4 friggin' Olympic pools in the basement.
Nice.
Like unbelievable, really fabulous. Something out of a movie. And so they had a gym down there, and so Hulk got up every morning at 5 o'clock and dragged Jimmy Hart and myself down there with him.
Wow.
And so I told Hulk, I said, I wrestled in high school some, and he said, well, show me a little something. So I said, sure. And so, like a jabroni, I ran up there and I ran around behind him and got him in a headlock. And Hulk says, "Pretty good, Maguire. Pretty good. What else you got?" And so I ran around a little bit, and then he showed me a few things on how to fall. You know, he said, "When you fall, spread your weight out, and hold your breath before you fall." Whatever.
You better tuck too.
Yeah,
right?
tuck.
You better tuck.
A lot of tips, and then he looked at Jimmy and he said, "Jimmy," and he looked at me. He said, "Maguire," he said, "We're going to make you a wrestler."
Nice.
And he wasn't kidding. And Jimmy said, "Oh no, Hulkster, no Hulkster. If Maguire becomes a wrestler and hurts his hands, we can't do any music." And which is, he had a point there. I said, "Hulk," I said, "Thank you, but I'm the music man, and you guys are. I mean, for me to try to think that I could be at a level of you at any time in my life would be a dream that can't happen." I said, "You're the talent, you're the star, and I'm happy to be able to create the icing on your cake with the music, But Hulk wanted me to wrestle. I mean, it's a lifetime opportunity. There's a lot of people out there that, oh my God, you could have been a wrestler. And I could see in Hulk's eyes, he had ideas to work programs for me and stuff. I mean,
but you wind up writing.
Shit, Mean Gene ran.
Boys are writing American Made anyway. It's not like he.
Listen, I just want to again give the fans a pop on your book. Right, it's My Life in Heaventown. You can actually come to the big event in Queens and get this autographed. Pick up a book for the low price of $20 and
with a picture.
With a picture with the great J.J. Maguire.
And a hug, no extra charge.
Yeah, and maybe if you're lucky enough, you'll be able to get maybe a song here and there. We might be playing. Never know what could be happening.
Wrestling, everything's possible.
Again, this is a must read. We'll also be selling Good Lovin', right? The My Life as a Rascal.
Book.
It's a fabulous book.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
We'll be selling this for $20 a shot too, and I'll sign it personally because you know how important that is.
Bargain.
I'll sign it personally.
Nice.
I'm trying to get Miller to come in there.
Yeah,
So
Miller.
JJ, real quick.
Sure.
Vince McMahon. Weigh in on Vince McMahon. He's a hot topic, right? A lot of people hate him. A lot of people love him. I love him. Love him like a teddy bear.
What?
What are your thoughts about him?
Well, when we started doing the music for them and everything, the company was owned by he and his wife, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really great because we could go directly to him and they, and with our ideas, and they could come directly to us with no big scheduling gizmo or 3 weeks later, it's just like, hey, we've got this idea, and they were very receptive, and plus the company wasn't a public traded company in those years, it was privately owned. But I will say this, that as far as a promotion, WWF and Vince and the people knew exactly what they were doing to make that a worldwide phenomenon. And we were lucky to get in there at that time. But they were always nice to me. The family was always nice to me, and the company and everybody. And I have nothing but great appreciation and thanks, because anything you do in life, no man is an island unto himself. Not even I can play a ton of instruments and I can write songs and so on, but I can't do everything by myself. As you couldn't do this show without your technical man.
Oh, Jesus.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, boy.
What a pop.
I mean, this takes
Dude, you underrate yourself as a producer. You're awesome.
Yeah, it's a group effort, and so is
Absolutely.
the wrestling business. And those that are willing to get in there and participate as a group, those are the most successful.
Right.
And history shows that.
Right.
Team players. Everybody was a team player in WWF.
So when do you leave the WWF? What year do you end up leaving?
And that's a good question. It's kind of a blur. I don't know exactly how to answer that.
Well, you said you got there in 1986,
Yeah,
I
I
believe?
got there in '86.
Okay.
And let's see, it was probably...
Well, you eventually wind up writing for Hogan in WCW.
Yeah, it was the early 90s.
Okay.
Okay, somewhere around 92 or
92,
3,
93.
By the way, I didn't know who you were, but I was angry with you with that song. That really bothered me.
What? Which one?
It was when Hogan love the song. Don't miss.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
but the issue was
Don't blame him for the guitar
again.
solos.
You all know
That's
how
someone
much
else.
we love the WWE.
Yes, we do.
Hogan going to WCW bothered me.
Yeah, it did.
And American
It did.
Made was like, Real American was a really important song. It's a great song.
We really are homers for the W. This is our coast. We grew up here. Madison Square Garden, Vince Senior. We watched Bruno. I mean, come on.
Right.
This
So
is the guy
you
we
love
root
Real
for.
American, then American Made comes out, and you're like,
Right.
I really don't want to like this song, but it's
good,
pretty
though.
kick ass.
It's good, it, though.
I appreciate it. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
it is.
We had to have something that was somewhat reminiscent and similar to Real American.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because people were familiar with that, but we couldn't duplicate that because of copyright issues and whatever. And so it was one of those things, where I had to get close, but not too close. But I love Real American and all that.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of how that came about. And the fans liked it. Of course, again, Hulk could have come out to kazoos once again.
I'm trying to picture Hogan
and
coming out to kazoos.
I think he would still been as big,
I don't know, man. Look, I'm a Hogan guy, but those songs, what got you jacked up, man?
Well, I appreciate that.
Speaking of doing something close but not exact, tell us about DDP's theme.
Well, DDP came to me in the back at one of the shows and said, Jimmy's out there running around. Hey, baby, hey, baby. He's busy doing his thing. And he would run back into we had a little music set up in the Coliseum in the back, and where Vince and the company could come down, Pat Patterson, different people, and listen to what we had and make suggestions or whatever. Open house, so to speak, open door policy. And I don't know, to me, it's all a miracle, you guys. And this music wouldn't mean squat or anything to anybody if it wasn't for the fans and the people that we wanted to uplift and give joy. And that's why I got into music, because I loved just watching people have fun and dance and forget their troubles for a while and all that stuff. And we would have been nothing. Hulk Hogan would have been a big nothing without the fan support and people liking what you do. And I just want to thank you guys for being so kind to have me up here and being fans that you are and being professionals and knowing the business and everything. This wrestling thing, I'm going to tell people, Hollywood and a lot of people think, well, wrestling's low art. Well, I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, there's not a darn low thing about anything to do with wrestling, ever. Period. It's far from low art. It takes a brilliant person to know how to perform in the wrestling business and do something that people want to keep seeing. And the music helped that, I think.
Sure.
But it wasn't about the music, it was about the talent, and then the music was icing on a cake, basically. But all together, again, a group effort. Just like your show here, it's a group effort.
JJ, we got a fan out there. Joey's a great supporter of the Monty and the Pharaoh show, Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, also seen on cable television on Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m. His question to you, JJ. Who is the most difficult wrestler to come up with a theme song for?
Nice. Probably Ted, $1 Million Man thing.
It was Ted. Okay.
Because you got a lot of idealism in there, money, and a guy that's overbearing and can buy his way, kind of typical of big business in America, in a way.
Yeah.
Did Savage ever come up to you, because he was coming out to a Pomp and Circumstance, right?
Yeah.
Did he ever come up to you eventually and say, hey man,
Yes, he did.
oh yeah, write me a theme song?
Pretty good.
Maguire, write us a theme.
Yeah, he wanted to change his music and vary his image some.
Yeah.
So,
How about a kazoo?
yeah.
A kazoo?
So,
Wait, but first of all, did he talk like that to you? Did he come up to you like,
his voice is like that in real life.
24/7.
Yeah.
Wow.
He wasn't quite jacked up so much with the veins ready to pop, but his voice was like that in reality.
Shocked when he passed away?
Hate it still, but he did want another theme to answer your question. So
Yeah.
I came up with Jimmy and I came up with a theme called
Oh, yeah.
and we also did a thing for Elizabeth called No Strings Attached. And we're working with WWE right now to work out some sort of arrangement for them to release that.
wow.
So
So wait a minute, did you use Oh Yeah? I don't remember.
no.
Okay.
No.
Is there a version out there?
Yeah, I got it on the CD.
Oh, we need the bootleg. Look at it. We're like deadheads, wrestling deadheads. We
Wow,
need
look
bootleg
at that.
copies of this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
There we go.
Wrestling dead.
Wrestling deadheads.
Wrestling Deadheads.
Piece of love.
Talking about Savage, was he as intense in real life as he was as a character?
He could be. He was very agitated very quickly. When we were at one of the WrestleManias at Caesar's Palace, he got upset because the air conditioning unit didn't work in his trailer, and he broke out every window in that trailer.
Wow.
Jeez.
But he would have temper fits.
Was this WrestleMania 5?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember Brian Knobs and SAG's The Nasty Boys, which wrote their thing too, Nasty Sensation. when the show was over there, we were out in front of the Caesars, and so Knob says, Maguire, will you, can we leave our luggage here with you? We got to go do something. We'll be back in a little bit. Well, they never came back. I stood there with the darn luggage for, like about an hour or something.
Right.
So I got tired of fooling with it. So you know what I did? I took their luggage and put it in the trash can. And so Knobs, and then left. I left. And Knobs told Jimmy, he said, we left our luggage with Maguire, but somebody put it in the trash can.
That's too funny.
Sorry, Brian. Hope you're feeling good.
Once again, my life in Heaventown wrestling history. You have this opportunity to come to the big event in Queens this Saturday from 8 a.m. to, I think it opens 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wrestling history in a book. One of your favorite stories from this book?
Oh, yeah, probably Andre's story about, I would do card tricks and stuff with Andre. He loved to play cards and drink wine and beer, as you know, as a hobby point. But he was so kind to me, and we were in Cleveland at a show, and he was dating a woman that was the weather anchor on the Cleveland top TV station, NBC or whatever. And
What'd she look like?
She was from Mexico, a Spanish lady, beautiful. And real charming and real brilliant and witty.
So first of all, less than all men, right? Doesn't matter what your face looks like. If you got big feet or a large wallet, you're golden.
That's right.
That's it. God. Someone's trying you regardless. Go ahead.
Andre wanted me. He didn't want the boys talking to her and whatever, messing around. So he said, Jimmy Maguire, will you sit with my girlfriend? And I said, of course, Andre, be glad to. And Hart came running over and said, Maguire, for Andre to ask you to do it, he wouldn't ask any of us to do that in the company. Nobody.
He trusted you.
He trusted me,
right?
And I never let him down. And he was always extremely kind to me, and he loved it when I do the tricks for him. And he was just like a little boy, a big little boy. Andre was a beautiful.
You did magic tricks, right? You would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do card tricks. He loved cards.
Right.
Loved to play cards, And he told me he wanted me to come to France and stay some and whatever. And I think Frenchie Martin is in charge of his estate, if I'm not mistaken, and now. But he invited me to come to France and everything. Of course, he bought land here in Alabama or somewhere.
North Carolina, I think,
North
right?
Carolina. And but Andre was such a kind and warm, and you've heard other people a lot bigger than I'll ever be to say these same words that worked with him. But he didn't like Savage. For some reason, he didn't like his gimmick. He didn't like him. He didn't like the no baby oil.
Really? So so you used to hear that around all the time? Really?
Yeah.
And were you scared for Savage? Dude, just get out of here.
Don't wear the.
Leave him alone.
Randy he just go, okay, brother, and I don't know what he thought really, but he didn't linger. I'll tell you that. Randy didn't linger, but. You've seen some of those matches where Andre almost beat him to death.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's no gimmicks there.
Savage was one tough dude, man. Though that guy was one tough dude.
He could play any sport as good or better than Mr. Perfect. I mean, that's two guys that were phenoms. Right.
Did Andre ever ask you to read him a bedtime story? Maguire, lead me bedtime story. Now.
No.
I was just happy that when he shook my hand, he was gentle.
Hey.
I would shake his hand, and it's like a little freshborn baby hand in his palm. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like shaking hands with a freight train.
Did Andre ever have a theme song?
That's a good question.
That is a great question.
Were you ever approached to write one for
Farrell? Always come up with good questions.
What would you have written for Andre?
Well, you're so enamored just by his size and who he is.
Right, I guess you didn't
hear
need
the music.
That's right. That's a great.
And that's a great question.
What would you have written for him?
I don't remember what he came out to. I really
don't think he did.
And you think I would?
To anything.
That's something to research.
Wow.
Fans research that and.
Wow.
Get on Facebook and tell Mike.
What would you go, heavy metal for him or something? Man, he's like Godzilla.
That's a good question.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd have to be something with a
something
big
really
stomp
heavy. What's your favorite theme you ever wrote?
That's too tough of a question.
Something that comes to
I think Demolition was probably one of the top three.
Okay.
Of course, but HBK is the most favorite and most played wrestling theme in wrestling history.
Now, how was HBK? Was he kind of a diva with you? I don't like that. Do this.
Sean was he's a quiet person and kind of a thinker in real life, and he was always polite to me and nice. But I didn't have a whole lot of dialogue with Sean. He was always so busy because he worked so many programs, And
you wrote the Rocker theme song, right, with Jimmy Hart?
yeah, and that was
Now that's a great theme song.
Well, I appreciate it.
It is.
Originally, when I was writing it, there's no lyrics on that one. So Jimmy would say, "What do you think, Maguire? Come up with something?" And so I went, "Listen to this." And I took the guitar and I went, dun 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 dun. He said, "This is kind of like too much like Demolition." He said, "Make it faster." I went, "Okay," because you know how they run 100 miles an hour to the ring.
Yeah.
So I went, "Okay, dun 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 dun." He said, "That's it," and that's what it was. It took 5 minutes to write.
Done.
Right.
Unbelievable.
But see, those suggestions like that make or break a song. You know, I can't sit here and say, "Yep." Even though I played all the instruments and came up with the bulk of the music, I'm the guy. No, I'm not the guy. I'm one of the guys.
Right.
Jimmy Hart.
Tempo.
Jimmy Hart.
But like, so this isn't a
Tempo
shot, but
suggestions, right.
for the not the casual wrestling fan, but I'd say a pretty solid wrestling fan. When you talk about WWE music, right? And I think when we first met, we had this discussion. Everybody thinks about Jimmy Johnson, right?
That's right.
Everybody goes, "Oh, it's Jimmy Johnson. He's the guy that wrote everything."
Yeah.
And then after we started talking on the phone, this was about a year and a half ago, whatever. I was like, "Holy cow!" You never know. You just never know. Why did Jimmy Johnson get all the street cred while you guys are writing all this stuff?
Jimmy's. Let's make one thing for sure. Let's tell the truth where the truth is the truth. Jim Johnson has written some great stuff, no doubt about it. But he was with Vince Senior when they were just a little promotion working, having 50 people sit out there on hard chairs at the gymnasium.
Well, wait a minute. He was with Vince Senior.
Yeah,
but there was no music back then, right?
No, but he knew the family and whatever, and so he had a studio in a church that was converted. Johnson did, I believe, if I'm correct. And anyway, he was friends with the family and whatever, and so when they started to do this, so he was on the front steps. There wasn't anybody else out there running around going, "I want to do wrestling music," because nobody had done any wrestling music. But I had done the first wrestling thing that I'd done. But back to Jim Johnson, my favorite thing that Jimmy did is the Undertaker theme. It's a beautiful theme. But not even Jimmy Johnson has had the string of the icon number of songs, of absolute non-arguable icon themes, you know, that we've done. We did 113 themes.
Yeah.
And 62 of those are, nobody's going to say, "Well, he's not an icon." They're icons. They're forever. And we were lucky to come in at a time when all that was going. But Jim Johnson got a contract to do music for Deep Space Nine.
I love that show.
And he did excellent work on that. But he couldn't keep
Trek,
up.
dude, stop.
Yeah, he couldn't keep up with the influx of all these future icons coming in. Yeah.
This guy. He
I'm
loves
sorry,
Star Trek.
Deep Space Nine.
It's like wrestling.
What's
Either
wrong with Deep
you
Space
love Star Trek or you hate it. That's
Look,
what
I love Star Trek. I just don't.
He
Give
just
me a
wants
deep space pizza.
Picard! Where did he come from?
They had a lot of spin-off shows and stuff.
They were great. I love DS9.
But now I'm going to tell you this: the only wrestling theme where the three masters supposedly of wrestling ring music collaborated was on the wedding theme for Randy and Liz.
Wow!
And actually, Jimmy wrote the lyrics and Together Forever, and I wrote all the music. But when we sent it up to have the copyright done, or whatever, Johnson added a third chorus to it. And so, I mean, we weren't sitting in the same room together.
What do you mean, snuck it in?
Snuck it in.
Jerk. What a jerk.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, why has Johnson got a credit? Oh, he snuck in a chord.
Yeah, he added a chorus to it.
Gene Simmons did that all the time. I put the word "the."
But he was their music guy.
Didn't that piss you off, though?
No, not really, because I was just happy to do what I've done, what I was doing, and I'm not jealous of anybody. I'm not jealous of Jim Johnson.
You didn't get on your keyboard and go wild.
I'm not jealous of anybody.
Right.
I'm for people. How do you think that I got involved on this level with this? If I were jealous of more talented people or whatever, I'd have never written one thing.
You're a pretty talented guy. You went to the WWE. Were you there when the Freebirds came to the WWE?
That's a good question. I don't think so.
Because I'm trying to think your timing. Because my thought process, I remember when they brought the Freebirds in, right? When the Freebirds were in Georgia Championship Wrestling or in Texas,
What
right?
year
They came
was
out the Freebirds. I'm willing to say it was right before WrestleMania 1.
No.
When did you get in?
No, I got in '86.
So what year? What WrestleMania was that?
Yeah, there when Bundy is there.
That's right, and there's a good Bundy story.
Let's hear it.
There you go.
You want to hear the Bundy story?
Sure, why not?
WrestleMania too.
And
Monty's at the WrestleMania.
If you hear it, you could read it. If you wrestling fans could read, My Life in Heaventown.
That's a joke, son.
by J.J. Maguire and John Cosper. I read it. I love it. Go ahead, King Kong Bundy.
He read it to me.
I talked to Jimmy the other night, Jimmy Hart, and he said, Maguire, you've got a memory like an elephant. I said, well, Jimmy, you've run up so many roads and down and flown so many planes. It's a miracle you can remember anything at all these programs. But they came to the WrestleMania, I guess it was 2. Was that it? And Jimmy was managing.
WrestleMania, go ahead.
And so they didn't know where they were. Bundy didn't know. Jimmy was green on L.A., and like coming to New York, going down to New York City, and you've never been there or driven in it, it'd be a nightmare. Nightmare even if you live here. But so he said, Maguire, we're coming. Would you pick Buttons and me up at the airport and take us to the hotel and kind of show us around and where to eat and whatever? I said, well, of course I will. So here
There's
they came.
2 terminals. Be careful.
Yeah, right. and so I took him to the hotel, and I walked in, and Jimmy said, come on in and hang out with us for a while. So we sat on the bed. Jimmy sat on the bed over here, and Bundy was milling around with his luggage and whatever. He said, Jimmy Hart, you and Maguire want a Coke? And I said, yeah, we'll take one. I'll take one. Jimmy said, yeah, sure. So Bundy went out the hall. Jimmy and I were sitting there watching TV. Not really. We were talking a little bit, but watching something on TV. All of a sudden, we heard this big crash, bam, boom, like this. And Jimmy said, Maguire, it's an earthquake. I said, no, Jimmy, I've lived here long enough. Not an earthquake, something else. He said, oh, my goodness gracious, oh, my God, it's Bundy. He said, go down the hall, see what happened. So I went. He didn't want to go, because I'm getting in the middle of something. So I went out there, went around the corner, and there was the Coke machine. And this was back when Coke machines were made out of heavy metal and everything. They weren't plastic like now. The thing cheated him out of his change, so he just picked the machine up and banged it on the floor and busted it open into like 100 pieces. And the Cokes all ran out, but none of them burst, unbelievably or not. And so he was picking them up. He said, Maguire, put your arms out. And I put my arms out, and he loaded me up with about 20 Cokes, and then he took about 10. And we went down the hall, and people were looking, and Cokes were rolling down the hall. And he was handing them out to people. Hey, good to see you. Come to the matches tomorrow night. And handing people Cokes and stuff. And so we had enough Cokes for all week. Bundy said, we've got enough Cokes for all weekend. We're good. And Jimmy and I, we looked at each other and went, okay. And we didn't say another word. We just acted like nothing ever happened.
No.
Yeah.
And you felt pretty safe, too, I'm sure.
Yeah, we felt
Where
really
with him?
safe. Chris Palace, a beautiful person.
So basically, you stole.
Well, Bundy did. Bundy stole.
All right, you aided and abetted.
No, he just finished whatever was taken. He drank
I'm
it.
just kidding.
That's right. Yeah. Now Chris was a great guy. Chris Palace is his real name.
I was a huge fan of Bundy. I was a huge fan of WrestleMania too. So what? So you were in the LA. You were in the LA side of it. You went to the LA side of it.
I lived in LA.
Okay.
I lived out in the valley, and I lived a little bit everywhere. I lived in Beverly Hills. And it's in the book too. I was answering phone butler for, Richard Burton, Neil Simon. Personal phone butler. There's an answering service called the Rodeo Drive Beverly Hills Answering and Mail Service. They got their mail there. This is before.
Wait, hold on. So how do you get a job like this? How crazy is that?
I just saw an advertisement in a thing called the Recycler. It's like selling cars and different things and whatever. But I saw it also in LA Times had an article and said. Top shelf mail and mail and telephone answering service exclusive for celebrities and so forth. I thought it was a gimmick. I thought this is some kind of gimmick. I'm going to try to lure people in for money or something, want something. No, it was legitimate. And so I went up there, and they liked my southern accent. I had a little heavier accent than I do now. But the woman that ran the thing, she said, I love your accent. You've got a good voice. I said, well, I used to be in radio at one time, And she says, we need people like you. She said, I like you, JJ. She didn't know me from that. Met me for 10 minutes. I said, well, thank you. I like you, too. She says, come tomorrow at 9 o'clock. You're in.
Wow.
We'll show you what to do. So, and then Esther Williams and her husband, what was his name? I always confuse him with Ricardo Montalban.
Con. You're too quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to cry.
Well, the fans, some of the older fans know. But anyway, Esther, was quite a movie star and everything too. And she always they wanted to talk to me. We had 5 other answers, but the heavy hitter celebrities always liked me because of my southern accent. That was my gimmick, I guess. And so every day Esther Williams would call, and then Neil Simon would call. They were good friends, and it was always meeting at the bistro to eat. Hi, this is Neil Simon. Mr. Maguire, please tell Esther and her husband that we're meeting at 8 o'clock at the bistro in Beverly Hills, and discussing. They were good friends and whatever. And so I answered for them, and then one day the phone rang, and it was, "Hello, this is Richard Burton." And I went, "Whoa!" I thought it was a joke or something, but no. We had celebrities that we answered the phone for and received their mail, and it was really Richard Burton. And then Elizabeth Taylor called, and so I fielded,
Elizabeth Taylor?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I fielded calls for some of the greatest Hollywood older icons of all time, and so I enjoyed that job. That was a fun job. And the celebrities were nice to me, and I learned something there too. And Bob Hope worked with him, and it's all in the book. Get the book, and I tell people, get the book, fool. So,
Fool.
So,
I want to remind everybody that the big event is this Saturday, November 16th. I'm sorry, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The LaGuardia Plaza Hotel, 104-04, Ditmars Boulevard. Lanny Poffo is there.
Did his music too.
You did the Geniuses music.
Yes,
Nice. Kane, Kurt Angle, Tank Abbott, and none other than J.J. Maguire. J.J., what could the fans expect from you when they meet you and they're shaking and they're all excited? What are they going to get?
And they're shaking.
Well, I'm just flattered and happy to be there and talk to them. And like I told you, and I told Mr. Eric Sims, who's a promoter too, you guys, what you guys do here and the promoters as well for the meet and greets is extremely important, because it shows the people the heart and the soul of the wrestlers, that they're real people. Not only are they great entertainers and performers, but they have a heart. And no pun intended. And I think that's the most important thing. And what you do here, and people like yourself, is important to keep the dream alive and let young fans and older fans have fun. And this is very important. This is not a joke. We may joke a lot, and you guys tell jokes and make fun and puns, but this is no joking matter. This is real, and this is an important part of American pop culture. And what you do here is very integral to letting people understand why this is. And I want to thank you guys for this and having me and what you do.
Thank you.
And
I
the fans
appreciate
too.
that.
I like talking to the people and everything. It's my pleasure.
Well, it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. It's nonstop.
Marathon.
Heroes again.
Good stuff.
Road Warrior Animal.
Yep.
Hillbilly Jim.
Double yup.
Buff Bagwell.
Triple yup.
Michael Elgin.
Yep.
Right. And then none other than Wisteria Hall will be playing in the band with J.J. Maguire.
Yeah. JJ saw Wisteria Studios earlier.
Well, he was in Wisteria Studios.
Awesome. Had a great time.
All right, so we got about 2 minutes. Today's wrestling. Thoughts about that, JJ?
I love wrestling, like you guys do too, and it means, and even people that don't understand wrestling, you take them to a match and they go, "I don't care about that stuff." By the time that match is over, those shows are over, they want to come back. You give it a chance, you'll like it. It's giving it an opportunity, but wrestling is the story of life, and if you know how to watch that and perceive and see that, you'll see that wrestling teaches us a lot of stories about life, and life's a great thing. That's why we're here. And like I say, the fans, we didn't all, the wrestlers didn't, and the music, we didn't do it all for our egos. We did it for the world's ego, what they needed and wanted. And I'm just happy to be a part of it all, and thank you all so much for having me up here.
I think the wrestling world thanks you. Without you,
I'm glad to have been
things
a part
don't
of it,
progress
be
the way
a
they
part
are.
of it, you know.
You are a part of it, and an integral part of it.
Yep.
I would say, right?
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate
Still
it.
mark out for that solo during.
Farrell, you're an
Sexy
integral
boy.
part about professional wrestling. You know
I'm-
that?
I'm
Yes,
what?
you have. You have become.
Me? Oi, here we go.
You've become. Monday
Go on.
water discussion.
Water cooler discussion?
What do you think?
Wow.
Drink to that.
Yeah, there he goes. He's
Drink to
having
that.
some water. Wow.
Yes, water cooler.
When did that
Water
happen?
cooler.
Was that like a slow thing?
You have
Tell
become.
me about myself.
You
Was
have,
it slow
you
or
have
was the
become.
Tell him about it.
You've become a
Tell him about
future
it.
icon of the
future?
sport.
Wait a
Absolutely.
minute. Am I or am I a future icon? Which
Miller,
am I?
weigh in. I need your help here.
The Pharaoh has now become culturally important
To
What's
the
this
professional
about?
wrestling
to the
world.
professional wrestling.
I totally
community.
What
agree.
is going on here? What's this about people wanting to take
I
pictures
totally
with us
agree
on
with you.
Saturday?
I'm not.
Think about this. We started another studio, a small show,
Yeah.
and now today,
Yeah.
we're our YouTube channel's huge.
You're on television.
We're on television,
Okay.
and
So is Charles
we've got
Manson.
But I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
but Charles
All right.
Manson killed people.
The fa-
That's
I
his
didn't have to
defense.
kill anyone.
You
You're
didn't have to
right.
kill anyone.
Go
There you
on.
go.
You okay?
So just saying, you've become an integral part of
The doctor
professional
says
wrestling history.
I'm impotent.
When you're dead,
important.
dead, some dude's gonna make a documentary about you.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah,
349
JJ.
days.
349 days and a half.
Make it to
That's
350.
not right. Oh my God.
No, Farrell would have worked 350 days.
No.
Fuck that.
What are you kidding me? Forget it.
No, your
right.
documentary we call 14 days.
Yeah. right. With vacation.
How about 3 minutes? He's the 3 minute man.
Oh shit.
The what?
The 3 minute man.
Wait a minute. What did I not get accomplished just now? What just happened? Oh my God.
All right, I want to thank JJ Maguire. He'll be back tomorrow and again with us at the big event.
JJ.
Also, JJ, your book can be bought on Amazon.
Yes, and at eatsleepwrestle.com.
Beautiful. And if you are here locally, at least in the New York area, and you're going to one of the largest wrestling events, the big event this Saturday, JJ again will be selling his book, signing his book, and taking photos. You have an opportunity to take a photo with a wrestling icon, and you are. I mean, you wrote history. Songs that last forever. Everybody remembers the Honky Tonk Man. Everybody remembers American Made. You cannot deny this, and this is an opportunity. JJ's not here a lot, so this is a big,
I don't
big
want
deal.
to. I don't want to overstate it, but on a wrestling musical basis, this is Mozart. Sorry, I'm sick, dude. Come on here. I mean, some of the most famous wrestling themes ever. Hello. That's all there is to it.
And
Sorry.
speaking of that, we've got our own
facts are
Stephen
facts.
Miller. He will be selling his book, Good Lovin', The Life of a Rascal. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It just makes me laugh. I don't know.
You can
I'm
catch
a
Steve
kid.
Miller in a Wisteria Hall T-shirt that day.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
probably
buddy.
can. But again, come to the Monty and the Pharaoh table. JJ will be there.
Yeah.
We've got a whole bunch of good stuff for the fans out there, and we want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yes.
JJ, one last message to the fans, and you're going to send us out.
God gave me talent, so I took it to the greatest show on earth. Traveled the world with the greatest of all time. Unbelievably entertained people of color in all walks of life. Who knew that wrestling is such a powerful force? I did.
Sweet.
With that, we'll catch you tomorrow starting around 3:30, 4 o'clock.
I'll be here.
Opening up will be Road Warrior Animal sitting on that
I'm
couch.
scared.
In that corner is JJ Maguire. To the right is none other than a wrestling icon, Jimmy Farrow. Right after that is Michael Elgin. Right after that, there's a little break, and then we're into Hillbilly Jim, and then we close out with Buff Bagwell. It's a long day, but guess what? We've got composer Mozart, JJ Maguire there, the whole
Mozart
entire-
and the mat.
the Mozart
on the mat.
and then once we get out of there, we're at the
Miller.
big event. So again,
Perfect.
you can catch Monty and the Pharaoh if you're not sick of enough of us. You can catch us every Tuesday on channel 115 from 8:30 to 9 p.m. Actually, that channel's #1 most viewed show. Right there, you go.
Bravissimo.
You could catch us. You could go to www.montyandthepharaoh.com and go to our YouTube channel, Monty and the Pharaoh, and of course on Facebook Live. So if you haven't had enough of a fat guy, a wrestling icon, a composer, and an award-winning author, there's plenty of venues.
Producer.
Plenty of great venue. You get now you tongue-tie me. Anyway, we'll catch you tomorrow. Anywhere between 3
Can
and
I
4.
do the Marty Jannetty closer?
Go ahead, please.
You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh. Till when? Tomorrow? See you later. Keep rocking.